what's up, y'all? It's Emorja. We're back for another episode of Black and
Oh,
Indie.
yeah.
It's a lot happening now in the world, and we're going to talk to you. We're going to power pack into like 20 minutes. So here we go. Go ahead, D.
It's me first. Cool. Well, I just want to talk about intrinsic motivations. This is actually a conversation from my educational psychology class. And the reason why I'm thinking about it in the context of Black at ND is because I hear people talk about their experiences here, and they say something like, oh, this is just one plan to the next. This is a stepping stone. I'm here to get my degree.
Mm-hmm. Get what you came for.
You get what you came for, you leave. But like, where do we find the motivation and the intrinsic motivation, meaning you want to do it, you see value in it? Where do we find that in this experience where it's just not like, oh, I'm just here at Notre Dame to handle my business, but like, where are we finding that time to really make ourselves students that are motivated to be in this space? And so I was just, last Friday, I went to Chima. I'm going to butcher her name, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about the talking
yes,
DPAC.
Yes, at DPAC or Chima Diche. And I was actually considering not going because once I leave this campus, I'm like, okay, my mask is off, I'm gone, I'm good. and I was like, are you going? And it really took me at the last minute to decide to go. And I did. And I was thankful that I did because it was just such a great experience. And it definitely motivated me to be in this space. I'm like, wow, I get to be around all these cool thinkers and intellects and like actually engage with a well-renowned scholar. So it was really what's the word I'm going for? Like impactful for me. Yeah. So where are y'all doing that in this space? Where are y'all finding that time to make sure y'all are being motivated to learn and motivated to be in this heavy space that we live in?
I think when I first got to Notre Dame, I didn't know how powerful the name Notre Dame was. People are like, oh, once these people see that on your your resume, like they're like, oh, like you've done it. I'm like, I just didn't know. Yep. And so once I started doing like a lot of work here, I realized how much weight the name carried. And me doing my work, I was motivated in a sense because, well, I was motivated but also frustrated because, me, like, being the only Black in the music department, the first Black to do something like this, we get ready to go to rehearsal now where I have to teach people who don't necessarily know how to do what we do naturally as Black people whenever we sing and move and dance. So it's like having to break these things down into different terms and code switching. There have been moments where I've lost the fervor because it's like, gosh, it's more frustrating trying to give people the tools to not necessarily be like us, but to execute certain musical elements that just come naturally. So with that being the case, and my motivation, in my experience, I found motivation in like, okay, well, I can teach these people to do something so that way that they can have a different way of approaching music, where it's not as static as reading music from the classical Western European tradition, but it's more so creating music that's not on the paper. And so, but in doing that, I've also noticed that like you said, when you went to the event with at DPAC, being around thinkers like that, it's hard for me to find thinkers who have been in the situation that I'm in at Notre Dame because I'm the only one. So it can become a little cumbersome because I find myself getting into spaces where I talk to my colleagues who are like at other schools, Black folks who are doing the same thing. And so we find ways of motivating each other in that field. But here on campus, it can be a little aggravating at times.
I think I was thinking about that a lot, especially with Nicole Hannah-Jones coming back and talking about her experiences here, as well as this other lady, Dr. K. She went to the Kroc Institute, Master's of Peace Studies, did my same program 20 years ago now. And thinking about this idea, like someone asked during her talk, Dr. K's talk, of like, it was Pam who works at the Kroc Institute. And
she's part of my show.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so she was saying, as an administrator, like Black students come to her all the time, and she, says the same refrain of get what you came here for. You know what I mean? Keep your head down. Like, don't fight, essentially. And thinking about like how tired that gets, right? And how it's like, why can't I have an impact here at Notre Dame? Like, why can't I fully have the same experience that my white colleagues are having? Like, why shouldn't I feel a piece of ownership here that doesn't have a little asterisk next to it, right? And then it's like this thing where, like, I can see how students are beating their heads up against this wall of like, white supremacy of, you know what I mean, of the traditions of Notre Dame and of all these things black students are, and how it might lead to just, you know what, I'm here for my degree and I will not be doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to any events, I'm not going to no football games, I'm not wearing Notre Dame shirts, whatever. Like, I'm not proud to go here because I'm just gonna get what I came for and then leave. And how potentially, like how there are ways to go to events like the one at DPAC, to go to events like the one, you know, with Nicole Hannah-Jones, to still find value and gems, like, within this trash heap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to still find places to be like, yeah, I'm glad I go here, and I'm glad I'm here at this exact moment. And also, I feel like a thing, at least for me, I don't know if it's the same for you, Emorja, like, as a master's student, like, I feel like my undergrad was not for my parents, but it was like, I just did undergrad because it's what you do, right? Like, you just go to undergrad and you pick a major and you try to get a job, right? But for this master's, especially since I'm doing it in peace studies, like, I specifically came here, like, for a specific reason, and I picked here because I am intrinsically motivated, and not just by peace studies, but by this program specifically. And there's been so many moments that I'm sitting in class where I'm like, this is exactly where I need to be.
Nice.
Right? And then I leave that little bubble and I, you know, go to the larger world of Notre Dame, and I'm like,
no, honestly, but that's exactly right, because like, I went to undergrad, you know, got there, you know, full ride. I was like, I'm going to go to school. 'Cause at first, I was going to go to the military. My mom was like, you ain't doing that. Especially as her only child, she was like, nah. So I went to UNF, got my degree, and it was cool. When I got here to Notre Dame, I was motivated because I said, I want to be the first in my family to get a doctorate. I just said that, period. I didn't know the sacrifice it would take coming to an area where I was displaced from a community that looked nothing like me, and weather and people and just everything.
It's a lot.
But I also knew that, I said, I know there's a sacrifice and I know it's going to pay off. But even with that sacrifice, there was so much that happened. We just so happened to be in a place, a very conservative kind of place, when all of these things happen in the world. And, you know, in Florida, it's a bit different. I mean, Florida's a little off the charts now, but I mean,
it's diverse.
Yeah.
We see different people
Right.
in Florida. Like,
yeah, so it's just different. But I mean, yeah, so I've still, even at those moments, like, there's this one thing that Alpha's, like, it's a poem that we quote, says, tired moments find me delightful treat. Even in those tired moments, I can still find, like, some kind of gratitude for my experience, for where I am now. It's not, I can't say that for everything that I experience while I'm here, because even at those moments where there may be rain, it makes me appreciate, you know, like, the moments of sunshine. You know, like Walter Hawkins said in one of his songs, be grateful. So it's a lot, but I can say that, you know, I agree with you. You know, coming here and being in this space where I am now, having to be intrinsically motivated is certainly at the top of my list. Yeah.
Maybe
I
it'll
agree.
get better at your PhD program.
Oh yeah. It'll get
Also,
better.
it's like, I feel like a symptom of not going to an HBCU. I feel like
I
every
know.
black kid who didn't go to
I
an HBCU
know.
wishes they went to an HBCU.
Definitely.
And I also wonder, like, why don't we have a sound? Like, you know, like, family, they got the Rattlers, you know, Howard, they got the HU, and we ain't got no kind of sound in Notre Dame. Ain't no call, ain't no nothing.
I mean,
so
we got
funny.
the Notre Dame song.
No, like a call, like, you know, if I'm in the streets, I'll be like, hey, bro, like, people know it by the
They
sound.
would never.
Notre
Can you think
Dame
about
is
Notre
too
Dame
Notre Dame.
Oh, we have this,
For-
go Irish.
Can you imagine, you know what I mean, the classic white older Catholic with 18 children, like, doing some sort of
No.
a loud outburst?
No, and that's the other thing too. You don't, I guess, because of the culture here, that's not something that you normally see. Because I will tell you, at my recital, we're gonna have all the calls, all the Greek calls. Gonna be real, like, we're gonna be real black over there. So I'm excited, but
Have an impact
I'm
here.
trying to see at what interaction do I ever even see
I get
with
it.
white people
If I-
where it's
No,
loud?
literally,
I get it.
it's never loud, but if I wear my Notre Dame shirt or whatever, like, on the beat, like, not here. I experienced
Yeah.
it specifically when I went on winter break, like, where I was wearing, like, a Notre Dame shirt. People come up to me. Like,
Yeah.
people will be like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
when they see something they connect to, they'll forget you're black for a second.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, Notre Dame.
right.
Yeah, and I was in the airport one day and I saw somebody on the plane. As a matter of fact, I said, you go to Notre Dame? He was like, no. I said, okay, never mind. he just happened to have it on.
Yeah, also that.
I don't know. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, that was on the plane. I was at Halloween Horror Nights. That's where it was.
Florida.
Yeah. So question. So how far do we go to defend our black women? I say this We know what happened last night.
No, we don't. I am so lost
Oh
as to
my
what happened
goodness.
last
You don't know what happened, Euda?
I'm
haven't.
sick of her, like-
I've
Okay.
seen like a photo, and then I was like, why is he? Was this a joke? Like, what is?
Erda,
Go.
I'm
Right.
sick of you.
Just catch me up.
I'm sick of Erda.
So, long story short, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock because Chris Rock was talking about Jada Pinkett.
Like, for real, for real?
Oh, no, for real.
It
And people thought it was a
seems for real,
stunt.
Like, it seems for
People
real.
thought it was a stunt, but it was not a stunt. So my question is, somebody put a post on Facebook recently and said, we just had, last week we saw, I'll read, it says, Black women need to know that at any given time, I'm going back even further, Malcolm X said, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. Then he says, Black women need to know at any given time, Cory Booker or Will Smith will show up for them. I am the king of respectability politics, and while I wish Will wouldn't have hit him, when you see red, we should never say what we want to. I tried to be self-righteous about this, but a coworker reminded me of 2 times in Baltimore I had to be carried out of the faculty meeting defending the honor of Black women in a meeting. Cory or Will on any given day. Some days I'm Cory, but many days I'm Will. It comes from the trauma of seeing your mother, sister, aunts, loved ones disrespected, and they lay in the moment embarrassed. Brothers, come to the rescue of all women, but especially Black women. Now, I will say this. I have an immediate thought, then I have a thought where I've actually pondered a little bit. I would, that was a big move. That was a big move. And understanding that, first of all, I probably would not have done it. I probably would have waited till afterwards. The cameras were off.
Sorry, what did
So
Chris Rock? What did he say?
So Chris Rock made a joke talking about, waiting for Jada to do the next, G.I. Jane 2. Because her haircut was low, or like she pretty much shaved her head, but she has alopecia. Mm-hmm. And so he was making a joke about that. Now, I don't know if Chris Rock knew that.
In the middle of Chris Rock making this joke, Will Smith comes up and slaps him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for real.
Yes. He walks up, slaps him, and says, and then he walks back to his seat, and then so you can hear the crowd's like,
and then he continued on.
And then-
Was Chris Rock
I
hosting?
didn't see, he
or-
said keep my wife's name out
keep-
y'all. He
F-
said
F-
y'all. I don't even
yeah.
think he said specifically you, but I think he was talking to the general.
and people were
public.
saying that too,
People
though.
love making fun of Jada Smith. Like,
Yeah.
the red tape, like, people really do.
They
be
do.
keeping her name in there
Yeah.
a lot.
And so the thing is, I probably would not have done that. But I know that afterwards, Tyler Perry and Denzel, when they're speaking to him out on the side. But 2, knowing how they put a picture up, not Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm drawing a blank right now, but the Black woman who actually knows my Black history, but the lady who received her awards. At some point, Blacks used to get their awards in the backstage. They were not allowed to be in front.
About,
Like, you should be a plus to your race.
It was a mammy, but what was her name?
Big Mom? No, not Big Mom. It wasn't
Erda,
Big
you
Mom.
know the lady. Okay.
I don't know her name. I know what you're talking
I know
about.
exactly what
Go
you're
on.
referring to.
Yeah, and so they were saying, like, not long ago we just had this, and so now here we are setting ourselves back with Will Smith, in this outburst. Now he did apologize for what he did, but some people were like, "Bruh, it's too late." And then, but also, there was a statement that was said was how last week, old dude was defending, is it Ketanji?
Yeah.
Ketanji.
Was defending Ketanji because Black women are always being made fun of. And so at that point, I guess it was just sort of boiling over. So Will Smith said, F it, you about to get this hand. And so everyone's on Facebook, on social media, going back and forth about he shouldn't have did it, or I'm glad he did it. Because of where Will Smith is in his career, someone made a statement, said, if it was Betty White, I'm like, first of all, who wants to slap Betty White? But my thing is, I know I would not have done that. I understand his anger, but I don't think I would have done that. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? We don't have to linger on this too long.
I'm really uncomfortable with this. And I feel like maybe it's because in a lot of my classes we've been talking about gender and the way that it not only, like, gender not as in women, but gender as in the construction of the roles of men and women, or what they should act like in society, right? And I feel like seeing that through that lens makes me think this is not about Will Smith defending Black women. This is about Will Smith defending his property, which feels like, this is why I feel real icky about this. It's in, like, this is my wife, this is my property, you know what I mean? Like, keep her name out your mouth, as in not, you know what I mean, for her personal respect, but for my respect as a man. Like, you can't disrespect me by disrespecting my wife, my property.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like to me. As someone who has not seen the clip, has not, you know what I mean? The level of uninformed that I am.
To see it. Because I feel like Will laughs at the joke just a little bit.
What was the joke? Hold on.
I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
That's the
This
whole
is real
joke.
and raw.
G.I. Jane 2?
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow.
I don't like it.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
I couldn't believe it.
Wow, dude.
I'm like, is this
It was a
I'm
G.I.
like,
Jane joke.
Will Smith is a great actor.
Name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to, okay?
I had nothing to think because there was so much to say. Oh my God.
I don't like it.
And here's the thing. See, I don't either. The thing is, and so even to give more context. So G.I. Jane, of course, she has her head shaved. That's part of who she is on the movie that she did. And so here's Chris Rock making a comparison to a woman who has alopecia versus a woman who actually chose to shave her head for this movie. And he's making fun of her condition. And Will just said, I've had enough of it.
But he did. I don't know. This feels weird because he was laughing.
He laughed,
and
but you could clearly see.
Yeah, and I guess it just sort of hit.
And then it feels like Will Smith's just a real good actor who was like, I've decided to act mad now.
That's why people wonder if it was a stunt or not. It's like,
not even as a stunt, but as in like, I've decided that the correct response here is to act mad.
I'm about to do the Sidney Poitier and knock him out.
And then, right,
Yeah.
and then, like do this thing where I just come up and I don't like it. I think this goes beyond whether or not he should have done it for respectability politics reasons and into like, why did Will Smith, you know what I mean? Like feel the need to do. I know. It's
interesting. Do what you think?
I mean, he physically assaulted someone on camera. No, in no way do I condone violence.
Right.
At least not in that context. I'm not gonna say I don't condone violence. I'm gonna say not in that context.
I can say as a peacemaker,
yes,
I do
as
not
a peacemaker,
condone
she
violence.
will say she
on
don't
any
condone
context.
violence, but there's a violent system against me, so you got to be a little cognizant of that.
That's a good one.
But I really was shocked. I can't say that like me, I probably wouldn't have done that in that moment with the cameras rolling as someone. It's a professional setting when you consider how Will and everyone else in that room gets paid, and so I think that should have been a conversation off camera, especially when. And I don't want to put respectability politics in this because I hate that, but especially when this happens on camera and you have a bunch of other black people watching and they're like, oh my God, this makes all of us look bad. They're never going to invite us to the Oscars.
That's what
again.
someone else said.
I hate that line of argument. It's a BS line of argument.
It is.
They weren't going to invite us in the first place, slapping people or not.
I know.
Let's not.
Well, that is true too. That is true too. And it's like
ridiculous.
I just think instead of thinking of it in terms of whether or not I would have done that, would have slapped someone, I want to think of it like to the place where I'm closer, which is Jada, like as a woman. Is that how I want my man to like to not respect me, but to defend me, right? Like, is this how I want black men to defend black women? It's not. I don't know what Jada wants.
Oh, yeah,
I know for me personally, this is not how I want you to like defend me in any sort of way. And I think that's a big part of not, again, seeing it through a gendered lens, not taking the autonomy away from Jada as just an object that needs to be protected. And like in whatever way you feel that is fit in that moment, you know what I mean? And not like, he could have put out a public statement. Like there's so many other things he could have done, Will Smith, to defend black women and Jada that wasn't going up to this man and slapping him. And I
got me thinking about it. Yeah.
A little icky.
I mean, I can just feel it over here.
Seriously, not like Chris Rock or Will Smith or Jada. Like, I just.
Yeah. Go ahead, dude.
I seen a comment. Somebody was like, black on black crime.
Here they go. Now, all the memes have been a little funny, though. I ain't gonna lie.
I had to
know,
laugh. They
that's
were like
true.
black on black crime in front of this white audience. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
And
No.
then they were like, Will Smith got his Oscar like right after, and they was like, he was just crying. They was like, it just changed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I guess my thing is, someone made a statement and said, well, he didn't do all this whenever she was screwing August.
This is what I'm seeing about people love making fun of Jada. I know. People, as someone who doesn't pay any sort of attention, I still get news about Jada on a regular basis.
No, somebody actually had a joke. They said Chris Rock should have came back with, if this is how he get mad in March, we should really wait until August.
You know what?
That was funny. I was like, the internet is ridiculous.
I'm
and
telling
the
you.
internet lives for
Love a
these
good,
things.
right?
They
Yeah.
live for these
Yes,
things.
and people they waste no time getting these memes together.
Well,
Like
people Twitter is on it.
I tell you,
They are on it.
literally. Oh my
hate
gosh,
it.
Ernie, what you got? We got a few
Yeah,
minutes.
I feel like this is a really good topic for specifically the three of us because we're all applying for jobs right now. Me for an internship, and then my name is Euda, yours is Daut'e,
Names,
you're
names.
Emorja, and me legitimately thinking, would I have better luck with these applications if it said
Katanji.
Sarah at the top?
Kamala.
Yeah. What is it? Do you guys have a fake white people name? I use one when I go to Starbucks because it just
Oh,
makes it easier.
good question.
because-
Absolutely.
And then have you considered using another name? Because I don't know that I'm to the point where I would do it just yet. I don't think I'm at that desperation, but I've thought about it way more than I think I should
Yeah.
be.
Well,
D go, go, because it's heavy.
So one, I do have a fake name at Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, and all these other places.
What is it?
It is Brittany.
Oh,
No, you
Brittany.
don't.
Yes,
Hi, Brittany. I'm Sarah.
Absolutely. And then, so I feel like I already go by another name. Like, people call me D.
Yeah.
I associate Deontay with home. So people who call
Yeah.
me by my name
Okay, I see.
usually know me in a very personalized context. So like some of my professors here, when they write my papers or give me feedback or whatever, they use D. Like they never spell out my name. They never try to, and nor do I expect them or want
Yeah.
them to, because that's the name that I go
Yeah.
by in this space. It is D. Like people who literally call me by my name actually know me, actually know how to pronunciate my name. And so I guess I already go by one, but do I think that like my process and employment and just other things in life would have been easier? Like if I'd have changed my name, yes. Like I can't, so I have an apostrophe in my name, and
Right.
I think you do too. But like
No,
when,
my dad adds one, but
Okay.
it ain't in there.
but when you're filling
Filling
out
out.
legal
Right.
papers, it
That
makes
part.
it very difficult, especially
Yeah.
when I'm filling out legal papers online. Like if I put the apostrophe, it'll mess
They
up
don't
the whole.
understand.
Like
Yeah.
the AI or algorithm or whatever
Yeah.
will not understand that, and it'll mess up the whole code. So it's just it's a little aggravating, yes. And then don't get me wrong on just somebody like, oh, but it's pronounced with an N and it doesn't have one. Just say it the
Yeah.
way that I
Say
told
my
you,
name.
please.
Exactly
Don't
right.
try to.
Which
don't,
one of us knows my name? Is it you or is it me?
Is it okay? Don't try to break my name down and figure out what my
Yep.
mom was thinking in
Yep.
that moment.
Yeah.
She was thinking
Yep.
that she was going to name me Deontay and say it with an N and spell it without one.
Yeah.
There it is. Say it correctly
I
or
get it.
call me D.
Yeah.
It's one of the purest choices I think you get in life is how to pronounce your name and
Yeah.
what name. you're
And what
gonna
name
get.
you go by,
Right, because
literally.
Yeah.
again, my name is Euda. It's spelled E-U-D-A.
There's no R. Yeah.
And if I had $1 for every time I said there's no R,
Listen.
We'd
I'd be rich. Why
Listen.
would I be
I
out
would
here
be-
trying to get a
I
degree?
wouldn't
Listen,
even
you
be
can
at
pay your
Notre
way
Dame
through Notre
right
Dame.
now.
I get it. Like I was just talking to I was talking to Torrance about this, and I was like, and he was saying that as far as like it's so good to see women who have these black names getting these
Katanji,
these positions. And I know
She
there's a
out
point in my
here.
life where it's like Emorja, and people can
Kamala.
never like even say it right. So I was like, just call me E. Like if I go to Starbucks or like go somewhere, I say just call me Mo. That's just it.
What is it?
Mo.
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 Which is my nickname. And so, I get so tired of people like, so how do you spell it? I'm like Emorja, and I said, just think of Elijah and say Emorja, because either they'll say Emorja, but it's real smooth, y'all. So yes, I have had those moments where I was like, I wonder if I would change my name, because I mean, I'm be honest, like there's been like this floating thought in the back of my mind. I'm like, would I ever change my last name, knowing that although my last name is the last name of my step grandfather, but not my bloodline grandfather. And I was like, nah. I said, I've built so much behind this Roberson name, and I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, names really take us a long way, and I hate that, sometimes there have been conversations where black people feel like, well, I wish my name wasn't so ghetto or so hood, and people will have to, have to change so that way I get accepted, and it's like,
But
nah.
that's a valid thing. I think they did a study where it's like you're 50% more likely to get a call back.
I agree.
If you have a white sounding
I agree,
name as
yeah.
opposed to, and that's real money on it. Like that's real
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
That's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll deal with me actually being black when I get to the interview. But if
Yeah.
I'm not even
Yeah.
getting to the interview because
Yes.
you're looking at my resume being like,
I don't want
Euda?
to deal with
Exactly.
that name.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's,
And-
I
and-
already don't want it. But then I'm also applying for a lot of positions in diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Where I'm like, hey,
I'm gonna be who I am.
specific experience that I
Yeah.
think you guys would need.
Yeah.
JP Morgan Chase. Like I have this specific experience, and I want you to know that I am black, African American.
Yeah.
I want you to know all these identity markers because that informs how I'm gonna work at this job, right?
Exactly.
And so there's also name blind, the ones I don't know if you guys.
Blind cast call or something
Yeah,
like that.
where it's like I don't know. I've filled out some applications where they're like, we're not gonna show your name when the hiring manager's looking, and then as you write your cover letter or whatever you're writing, don't write anything that would reveal your, you know what I mean, identity markers. And it's like part of me is like, I don't
know
want you to
about
not
that.
give me this job because of this, but I want you to understand that I am black and I am going to be
Yeah.
black at this job.
Right.
Why do we
and
have to
I am
hide ourselves just to? God, I hate that. Oh, I hate we got to do
really
that. Go ahead,
hard.
D. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't be able to do that, and I'm so glad that I have not come across an application like that because my whole life has been
Right, I'm
shaped-
black,
Right?
y'all.
And you know
Africana
what?
studies.
And you know what? I should have brought this up today when it comes to our conversation about today. Chief Amanda said something that I wish I had the luxury. Somebody asked her along the lines of how does she feel coming to America, and especially with being African and having to identify as black or blackness, whatever.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, to be honest, I never had to think about myself in this black context until I got here. And I was like, do you know how much of a luxury that is? My
No,
entire
that's
life.
a good privilege.
That's
a
a good privilege right there. She said that when she's back home in Nigeria, she understands herself in a very gendered context, but not in a racial context.
Yeah.
I'm like, that.
That's so
That's
deep.
That's a deep. I literally
Yeah.
I sat and soaked into that when she said that because I'm like, I've never had that luxury and I never will, and it's just.
I feel like there's a comfort, again, coming from Haiti, there's a comfort in knowing that there's at least one place where I'm regular, degular, normal. There's
Yeah.
nothing, there's no little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People just, you know what I mean? And I think for African Americans, specifically black people who live in America, from America, it feels like there's nowhere, right? If you were to go to Nigeria, you wouldn't feel that comfort because Nigeria is not your home,
Yeah.
truly. And then America is hell bent on making America not your home, right? So
Yeah.
there's really nowhere in the world to feel that comfort of you belong here in the truest sense of the word, more than anyone else. But I also think it's difficult for African nationals. There's a lot of African nationals in my program because when they come here and they're I've never ever had to think or talk about race as much as I have,
Yes.
Yeah.
being here in America. And also, my friend was saying he's filling out a form, and then he was the only options were for African American, and I'm not African American, but I'm black, and so there was no option for
Oh,
just
yeah,
black.
that's
that
And so
discussion
it's
too.
essentially you have no status in this country
Yeah.
beyond African American, which implies one thing that he's not. I don't know. It's just difficult out here.
It's heavy because I know we got to go through. So there's African American, Black American, and it's
Technically, a white South African is African
yeah.
American.
When I was in South Africa, and I was like, oh, I said there are white people here.
Yeah, Charlize Theron is African
and
American.
born there. And
Yeah,
lived there,
yeah.
so-
What's his name? That horrible billionaire. Elon Musk is African
Oh yeah,
American.
yep. I wonder what it's like if a white South African, came to America, if they would see blacks, if they would eventually evolve to see blacks the same way that white Americans see blacks, or if they would, or I don't know. I wonder how they see blacks even in their own country.
Badly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
I think there's a professor here, Laurie Nathan. He's a white South African, but he worked to bring down the apartheid state, straight up was in the trenches. But he was saying that So he was a normal, regular white South African living full privilege, like living in the apartheid state that was like separation of black people and white people, right?
Yeah.
So he was living in his privilege, best life. And then it wasn't until he was 18 years old, he went off to college, that he saw a black person, like he was walking and he heard this black guy like giving a speech like at a event or whatever. And that was the first time he'd ever seen a black person who wasn't in a service position, like who wasn't a servant, who wasn't a waiter, who wasn't anything, who was like an intellectual. That was the first time, 18 years old, in a country that's a majority black, that he'd ever seen a black person not be in a position of service. And that kind of shaping, you know what I mean? That kind of conditioning, like he broke out of it, you know what I mean? But like, I feel like a lot of people can't or don't. And then think about that, but think about the context of the U.S. And again, what what Nicole Hannah-Jones said about the importance of white people seeing black people in positions of power.
I agree.
Of seeing them in like where you now have to answer to a black person.
Yes.
And I feel like for a lot of the average domer, you know what I mean, grew up in these like insulated white communities where they never will have had to interact with a black person and in that intellectual space. And
I agree.
That kind of conditioning is hard to get rid of.
No, I agree, especially whenever you've been so used to it for so long. That's like trying to break a bad habit that is just, it's a part of your being.
And that bad habit is beneficial to you.
Yeah, no, seriously, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Listen, y'all, we got to get our butts out of here.
Sure.
Thanks so much for checking us out. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we will catch you next time. All right. See you later.